Amazing GM folks. Thanks a lot for joining in. Thank you, Blue. Thank you, TraderJoe. Thank you, Dude, for coming here, and everybody else that have just tuned in. Um, Sweet. Super excited to kickstart our Twitter Spaces today with TraderJoe and Blue. Let me just give you all a quick context just before we go ahead and get started. First of all, thanks a lot for taking the time. Thanks a lot, Blue, for doing this. Thank you, everybody else, for joining in. Hope all of you all have had a good week so far. Um, I think for me it's been pretty hectic, but hope you all have had a nice week. We're coming up on a weekend, and hope you all are excited. But let's just jump straight to it. Giving you all the context for this Twitter space. As most of you all might know, we've recently. By the way, quick intro. I'm Garden Intern. Mostly speaking here. If you all have been to other Twitter spaces of ours. But yeah, um, short brief for this Twitter Spaces with TraderJoe, who have joined us as our recent collaborators for season three. We have a super cool quest live with them that went live very shortly. And yeah, this Twitter space is just sort of discussing our collaboration, and also discussing a few interesting topics from marketing and community in Web3 to why is it important to bring Bitcoin to DeFi, building on Arbitrum, etc., etc. So sweet. I think I will go ahead and pass it over to Blue and then Dude for giving their own intros. Yeah, Blue can go first, and Dude, you can go next.
Hello, thanks so much for having me. Good to chat. Yeah, I guess brief intro. Head of marketing and growth at TraderJoe. I've worked for the DEX for 3 years, and yeah, we're TraderJoe is a DEX you can perform instant swaps, low cost, live on Avalanche, and more recently Arbitrum. Those are our two key chains, and yeah, excited to just talk a bit more, learn more about Seed, and discuss our collaboration and other topics that we want to talk about.
Excellent. Hey everyone, Dude here. Happy Thursday. Super happy to be part of this AMA today with TraderJoe. They're one of my favorite brands. I've always been following their Twitter. I feel it's one of the more fresh Twitter pages. Um, you all know me, but a little bit small intro. So I've been in the crypto space for about 3 years. I lead markets for Garden. Garden is building to be the go-to place for exchanging your Bitcoin to any asset on any chain in less than 10 minutes. And yeah, super happy to be part of this space and discuss further with whatever questions Garden Intern has ready for us, me and Blue.
We like to try and keep our Twitter page as fresh as the yields we offer in the pools, so I'm
Nice.
appreciative of that.
That was a subtle plug. Awesome. Sweet. But yeah, I think sort of dives right into my first question, which is that Blue, would you be so kind to just give a quick intro to TraderJoe, more on what you're building, what you folks have been up to lately, and a few pieces of alpha that you could drop just early into this AMA for us.
Oh man, going straight in for the alpha calls. I'm not sure what I can do about the alpha. I mean, TraderJoe is, fundamentally it's a DEX, that's our core product. So just the ability to give people on-chain swaps, that's very important to us, remaining on-chain, instant, low cost, highly efficient swaps. And we've got our own kind of novel protocol, which has our own approach to concentrated liquidity. We launched this back end of 2022. It's called Liquidity Book. It's a discretized liquidity market making protocol. Gives traders the ability to swap on chain with zero slippage, providing there's liquidity in the right, providing there's liquidity that's deep enough. So I believe we're the only protocol that enables fully on chain zero slippage swaps. That's great for traders. And for liquidity providers, it's fungible liquidity positions. You can kind of create shapes, different types of distributions, manage your liquidity on the go. So it's a really kind of, it's as close to an order book as you could probably make a concentrated liquidity protocol on chain. So it really just enhances the ability for liquidity providers to kind of position tactfully and manage their liquidity as prices go up and down and stuff like that. So we're just all about, but ultimately, like, we're all about making swapping as easy and quick as possible on chain. Everything we do focuses around how can we improve the swap experience, how can we make it even more seamless, even cheaper, even more accessible to everyone. And I think, I can't really share alpha, but a lot of what we've been working on the first half of this year is going to start being deployed or announced in this half of the year. And again, it's just about offering people new ways to swap in a fully on-chain environment, offering people different abilities to kind of access different types of tokens or create different types of tokens that can be instantly swapped again on chain. And also, like, at the back end of the year, we've been working on something called Joe V4. It's not really been announced, but essentially this is a first step towards how we view the evolution of decentralized exchanges to kind of really go down that path over the next few years. So that's a really exciting protocol that we've been working on with some partners that will kind of be announced soon. But essentially, TraderJoe, we are just here to give a great spot swap experience, and that's been our passion for the last few years. That's our passion and ambition for the next few years as well. Just making the on-chain environment more accessible and easy for the trader, or for the everyday Joe, I should say.
Yeah, I actually, that's one of the reasons why I really like the brand TraderJoe, because it's the messaging and everything is very straightforward, and what you're trying to build is also very straightforward, and it's geared towards your average day user understanding and being able to use the application really well. And we at Garden also have a similar kind of approach to building. Um, we started Garden around November December last year, and we started with a very straightforward purpose. Um, we felt that the Bitcoin interoperability experience is not as great as it's supposed to be. Either you have to deal with really long bridging times, or having to do multiple hops with different wallets, and having to click a lot of times and doing a lot of waiting. It's not really the kind of treatment you should be giving to an asset that is kind of the pillar of Web3 in a way, right? And even if you see interoperability volumes today, usually around 40 to 50% of the volume comes around Bitcoin. So that's where we decided that like the experience that should be around Bitcoin in terms of the multi-chain trading experience should be very easy and straightforward. And that's when the idea of Garden started, and we were able to execute Bitcoin to wrap Bitcoin swaps in less than 10 minutes and only 2 clicks. And that's where we started in Jan. And since then, we've done a decent bit of volume. We've been getting a lot of interest from people. We've recently went open access. Previously, we were a bit of closed access. And we've done about 800 million in volume, which is crazy to even imagine for us, which kind of shows the importance and the need that people have for Bitcoin bridging. Um, as Blue was mentioning a little bit back about trying to build experiences that are very close to order books, so there's not a lot of slippage and it's very straightforward. Garden started with the idea of a similar idea where we see that a lot of bridges are secured by custodian networks or multisigs, which have their own issues and also cause a lot of time delays and slippage issues. So we decided that Garden should be a very decentralized. So it's built on an order book and atomic swaps. Atomic swap uses HTLC technology, so the smart contracts enable a P2P kind of trading experience. And Garden also has a zero confirmation mechanism that makes the speed very high. Like we don't let our users have to wait for the confirmations on either the Bitcoin chain or on the other side, on the EVM chains. As a result, Garden offers a very fast trading experience for Bitcoin holders to move to any asset they want. So that's a little brief intro. I won't say brief. I think I've been speaking for a decent bit. So yeah, that's a
So,
little about
so
Garden.
you guys are kind of new this year, basically.
Yes, yes,
Nice. And then, yeah, I mean, obviously the volume is close to 800 million. Is that right?
yes,
You
yeah.
facilitated us. So I'm not really sure what size the market potentially is. Like how, like what's the potential here in terms of actual bridging volume? Like what is your current market share if you're tracking that?
So, if I have to say what is the current market value, for example, let's look at something like ThoughtChain, right? ThoughtChain enables, on an average, about 40 to 50 million dollars worth of Bitcoin multi-chain volume on a daily basis. I would say that's the closest addressable market for Garden.
Hmm.
We currently do about 500K to a million uh, on a daily volume, and there were seasons or times when there was a lot of Bitcoin hype, and there was a lot of hype around the NFT ordinals narratives and Bitcoin L2s narrative. There was a lot of movement between EVM to Bitcoin chains. During that time, I think we were actually able to generate volumes easily around 15 to 20 million per day. I think that those are like the best days. So yeah, even with our penetration, which is very basic at this stage since we are a new project, um, I think there is a decent market present. And looking at someone like ThoughtChain who's been established for a really long time, and looking at the kind of volumes that they're able to do on Bitcoin alone, I feel that there is a good market existing for Bitcoin exchange.
Got it. And would you say the product that you're offering is, I don't know, better than Forward Chain at the moment? Because you're obviously brand new, you build on new tech.
Yes, so it's better on two regards. One is the swap timing. Um, Even on bigger Bitcoin trades, it would still take the same amount of time for a person to trade on Garden, which is usually around 10 minutes, 10 minutes being the Bitcoin block average
Hmm.
time. So usually it takes around one block, Bitcoin block time to execute a swap on Garden. That is our biggest benefit. And there is no slippage because it's an order book based mechanism. And the third thing would be cost. We are currently more cost efficient than thought thought swap. ThoughtChain is more of a layer, right? I think there are a lot of
Hmm.
applications built on top of ThoughtChain. For example, there is Rango, ThoughtSwap, and all these other guys, different places where you can actually go and exchange your Bitcoin. So on these three regards, we are better than ThoughtChain. And there are also newer projects also coming. I think I saw something called Atomic the other week, which is also it's not as big yet, but I think they have also kind of improved on the tech of Bitcoin exchanging.
Got it. That's clear. Thanks for that insight.
Thank you.
What was I going to say? Another. So I mean, I've obviously only came across you guys a few weeks ago, and that's when we kind of connected, and
Hmm.
we've thrown up this quest, and maybe we could talk about that in a minute. But
Yeah.
I really like the aesthetic of your brand, and I was keen to know, like, what is the heritage of this brand? Why Garden, and why the styling of it as well? Because it feels like, your product is an atomic swapping order book
Mhm.
facilitating Bitcoin bridge, and then you've got this really kind of lovely, pleasant brand to it called Garden. To be honest, I just fell in love with the aesthetic, so I knew I had to reach out as soon as I saw it. I just felt a bit of synergy there with TraderJoe as well. So yeah, keen to learn more about the brand and why you've
Yeah,
gone that route.
definitely. I think there is at least some level of inspiration from TraderJoe in that regard because we've known TraderJoe for a really long time as a brand. But yeah, the reason for the brand aesthetic majorly comes from I would say like we have a I think the founding team has a dislike for a lot of neon and at your face kind of colors and uh, kind of messaging that is there in Web3 in a way. Like I feel like in a lot of the places they try to hype things up too much, or there is a lot of things coming at your face a lot, and it feels very heavy. And also a lot of the applications are very difficult to use. And from the beginning, our whole philosophy has been that we want to make things simple, right? We want to make things easy. We don't want to we don't want to sound complicated, so that it actually. I think there's a trend in Web3 where people actually companies try to make themselves sound a lot complicated just so that it sounds bullish, and that kind of comes across in the messaging and a lot of other places. But we want to do the complete opposite. We want to make the product, the messaging, the colors, everything so simple and pleasant, right? uh, Trading, it's about money. At the end of the day, it's like you're trying to do something with your assets, like something you're earning, and we want that experience to be very simple and straightforward. And coming to the garden aesthetic, um, so a lot of our core team are actually like runners. We do like 5K, 10K, 15K runs, and like so there used to be a project called WBTC Cafe, if you remember, Blue. Like this was back in the day, when WBTC was created. There used to be this application called WBTC Cafe where people can go and actually mint new wrap Bitcoin, right? And we were trying to look at some domains that would go with WBTC, because in the beginning Garden was just built straight up on just BTC to wrap Bitcoin atomic swaps. So we were trying to find some domains that would actually go with WBTC dot something, right? Because that was the starting point. And then we were looking at a lot of these options. And then WPTC Garden, which was our actually the first initial domain. Now we moved it to Garden or Finance because it's more simpler, since we are looking at a bigger picture where Garden lets you swap from Bitcoin to any asset. uh, WBTC Garden was that one domain that really stuck us because of two reasons. One, us being like this regular runners, we really enjoy parks and gardens and the kind of peace it kind of emulates, and we really like this concept of building a brand around garden. Right, garden is a place where you sow things and you see them grow, and that kind of aesthetic felt very wholesome in a way, and very different from how brands exist on Web3. So we really like that idea, and then we started doing that. And since then, like, our vision has always been to do something that is very clean, very nice to look at, very calming. So that kind of vibe. So that's the ideas behind the aesthetic. And kudos to our designer. That designer is like really amazing, and he's been like doing the heavy lifting on making this look really beautiful.
Nice. Did you bring in a branding expert at all, or is it just kind of more of a core team decision, and then you got
Yeah, it's
obviously a
been
decent
core
designer to
team
kind of put
decision.
it together? Nice.
Yes.
Cool.
So one of our core team members used to run a design studio when he was in high school. He was a designer and then slowly became a front end developer. So he has that design thinking in him since the beginning. So he's been like spearheading this decisions.
Nice. Designer and a front end dev. That's a handy mix in Web3 for sure when teams
Yeah.
are so lean. Cool.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, branding is such an important, obviously it's an important part of any industry, right? But with Web3, when the user touch points are so small, you can literally come onto a platform,
Mm-hmm.
do a few clicks, and off you go. There's almost no human interaction. You might not even check socials. And so really, like, the exposure of your product is the front end of the exposure of your brand is just, the front end, and it could sometimes just be one page. So it's really important to have a brand which is designed so it intuitively kind of deliver that brand message that you want to. And yeah, right down to the aesthetics is so important to have everything so cohesive with your brand strategy that regardless of what a user does, they're getting a dose or a hit of what your brand is about.
I
So yeah.
agree. I totally agree. And I think your mascot, the actual, like, that average Joe kind of uh,
It's Joe.
logo. Yeah, the Joe himself. I
Joe,
think.
that's his
Yeah.
name. He's
Thank you for telling his name. I would never remember that. So I think that's one thing that is so pleasing about. Like, I think you use him a lot in all of your Twitter posts, and even if you go to the website, different sections have him chilling out in different avatars. So definitely, like aesthetic definitely makes a brand more memorable and wants people to actually interact with it a bit more.
Yeah, it's all about it's a very mascot heavy brand strategy, but I
Hmm.
think with again it's kind of, well, I mean 3 years ago it was a case of, and it still is a large case today, where there's so much risk and uncertainty and lack of transparency with what you're doing as a consumer, that
Hmm.
having a brand, we felt having a mascot is important because it kind of gives a central focus of your brand that someone can forge a relationship with if they're not interacting with anyone,
Right.
on your team, if they're not able to interact with anything outside of your platform.
Hmm.
At least they have that mascot. So when someone
Right.
sees Joe's face, they should kind of, for the first time, for the 10th time, or the 100th, they should feel comfortable
Hmm.
with him as, part of a wider platform and offering. So that's why we use him a lot. And you break down our brand DNA, you're basically pulling out Joe, his face, his beard, his hat. Those are
Right.
core parts of our brand, and that's why we use them everywhere. We make sure it's everything we're doing with our brand strategy and marketing.
Nice.
You will probably see Joe or some part of Joe, right? So it's just building in that consistency with how we're approaching our marketing and branding strategy.
Yes.
But
Thanks
it's
for
fun.
explaining, Blue.
Yeah, it's a fun brand to work with.
Yeah.
Sweet. Nice bit of discussion there. I think I just raised my hand because, dude, there's just this question that came in. We will take community questions later in this AMA, but I think someone asked that they're not sure why they would use Garden and not ThoughtSwap. Dude, maybe you wanna take that up?
Yeah. Yeah. I touched on it a little.
Quicker bridging, quicker, cheaper
Yeah.
bridging.
Thank you. Thank you, Blue.
There you
Exactly.
go.
Awesome.
That's
Awesome.
it. What else do you need?
Yeah. I'm happy to see that my explanation in the beginning has not gone in vain.
Yeah, I
Nice.
mean, no one has time. I like spending 10 minutes waiting for something to bridge. That is, that's 2021 DeFi.
Exactly.
Things have to be instant. If something's not instant, you are just kind of waiting for someone else to
Exactly.
roll out something which makes something instant.
And
But
we're also on a route on a roadmap, right? I think in the next couple of months we'll actually reduce the 10 minutes down to 30 seconds, so it's like instant. And I think that's like the that'll be the experience that a garden will stand on. uh, I'm just super excited for that time.
nice. Maybe we can talk about the quest that we have at the moment and seed. Like, what is it? Why do we want to collect seed? I'm keen to learn more.
Yep, sure. Yes, coming to the quest. So we are currently running a season, more of a trading season right now, targeted towards Arbitrum, because we've noticed over the months that Arbitrum has turned into one of the major ecosystems at Garden. We get almost 70% of our volume coming between Bitcoin and Arbitrum. And since because of that, we decided that we wanted to focus on showcasing a lot of opportunities present on Arbitrum. Basically, since we bridge Bitcoin to wrap Bitcoin, we wanted to highlight all of the different places where people can actually utilize their wrap Bitcoin to earn some yield. Um, and as part of that, we've actually l- taken live a quest with TraderJoe where users can actually bridge with Garden and then go on to deposit their wrap Bitcoin and Ethereum into one of their liquidity pools, which we've linked in the seasons page to earn yield and also a handsome seed reward in that process. Um, would you like to add anything to that, Lou?
Um, no.
Awesome. Yeah.
Well,
Just
I
wanted to
mean
make sure.
the yes.
Just
Just
wanted to make
like,
sure I wasn't
wait,
missing
should
anything.
do I need to add something? I don't know. I will say the pool at the moment, obviously it's the wrap Bitcoin ETH pool. It's on liquidity book, so it is concentrated liquidity. but there are rewards at the moment. So we are distributing ARB token rewards. Those rewards will last for about another sort of 3 months. So there's some good yield on offer at the moment, but obviously, consider risks around managing concentrated liquidity.
Awesome. Yep. Coming to your question, I think you had a question around seed. What it's all about. So we actually, when we started Garden, right, we wanted to make sure that we build it in a certain way that it can actually reach a point where it's led by the community itself. Actually put forth about 65% of our token supply to be um, actually geared towards reaching the community in different kind of activities. One of this being this trading season that we're currently running, and the way seed is utilized in the system is threefold. For users, we actually wanted to remove users having to use different gas tokens across different chains, and actually directly being able to use seed on a platform as a payment token or a fee token at a discount rate. So that is one way users can directly utilize seed, and seed also actually runs our order book in a way, in the sense that people who want to provide liquidity onto the garden order book can do so by staking seed. And we also have a staking mechanism part of the garden where users can actually stake about 2100 seed to take part in a market making mechanism. So a market making mechanism is a little complex. So let's say you actually become a liquidity provider on garden. um, we actually created a kind of check structure where we want to make sure that people who are not performing as a really good liquidity provider get slashed in a way. So how that works is people who stake seed can actually go forward and vote the liquidity fillers, as we call it in our system, who actually perform better than others in filling people's orders on Garden. And we have a whole incentive and game theoretic mechanism running there to make sure that liquidity fillers who are actually doing a better job get more orders compared to liquidity fillers who are not doing such a great job. And in turn, the liquidity fillers give a portion of the fee they generate back to people who stake their seed. So these are the three ways that people can actually um, earn on top of seed inside the garden mechanism. Currently, this season, the trading season, is the only way for people to uh, earn seed. There's no other way to be able to earn that.
Wait, so liquidity providers can vote against other liquidity providers if they think they're not performing as well, so they get slashed with rewards.
So liquidity providers can't vote themselves. So there are two different actors. There is a liquidity provider, and there is a staker. Right. So if let's say someone wants to be a liquidity provider, they have to stake around 210,000 seed and hold around 10 Bitcoin liquidity minimum to be a liquidity filler on Garden.
10
And
Bitcoin. Bloody hell. Right.
right now we haven't decentralized it yet. We
Right.
are running a closed team, but we are actually working on a way to decentralize that a bit further. So that's part of our roadmap. But at least 2 quarters away, we wanted to do two more things before we reach to a point where we can decentralize fillers. One of which is adding support to more assets and more chains, which we've started achieving with our deep integration very recently. But yeah, 10 BTC is a lot.
So it's not fully opened up yet to
Yes.
retail, basically. But
Yep.
okay,
Yep.
cool.
Awesome. Thanks. I think Blue, you covered like most of the questions that I had for this AMA. But I wanted to get both Blue, yours and Dude's thoughts on this, which is a little different from taking a little tangent from talking about both of our products. And thought that since we had like two market like Web3 marketing giga chads here. I wanted to get your ideas on what do you folks think the future of um, DeFi and growth in Web3 sort of looks like. Do you think it's always going to be this uh, is it always going to just be points, or do you envision a more utopian end state for DeFi and like crypto, just when it reaches the masses?
Ah, is the future of DeFi going to be points? Yes, unfortunately. So I got into DeFi like 2021, and back then it was way more simplistic in terms of the infrastructure of DeFi. You had these really primitive dApps, and there was almost nothing around it supporting it. Whereas now there's just the marketing tech landscape alone, there's way more supporting kind of third party parts of the industry that aim to just enhance what you can do on chain. So like DeFi just in general as an industry is a lot larger, not just with on-chain dApps, but also supporting services that enable you to do more on-chain, but also linked to off-chain stuff. Like, so DeFi in 2020, 2021, it was just all about yield farming, wasn't it? It's just, hey, look, doing this means you can accrue this token. Then obviously we've had metas changing around points where people are essentially just performing actions to get an off-chain point, which then translates into an airdrop. I don't fundamentally think that kind of system is going to change massively. I know there's lots of soured sentiment towards airdrops are just getting worse, and point systems, or many of them, are just farming users. And I do think, yeah, that is the case. A lot of these products are actually going to market with their launch strategy to intro their token with points farming. But I actually view it as, well, all of these established dApps that are probably closer to the end of their emission cycle, or some of them would have finished it, like Joe. Actually, point systems to create loyalty programs are way better placed for these established dApps, and certainly the commoditized offerings such as DEXs. I do think a case of like airdrops need to evolve. They're definitely at the point where they're just not very, you're not truly aligning long-term value with your user base when you do an airdrop. You are pretty much just catering to a different type of mercenary user. So airdrops need to change, certainly from the initial kind of farm this points and you'll get an airdrop, and then people move on to the next. You're seeing this more at chain level at the moment, where even Blast had their airdrop yesterday and their TVL's down like 30%, and where's everyone gone? I'll linear and scroll because that's the next airdrop. But I think for dApps, they also need to change. They also need to be at least staggered over a longer period of time. Potentially you want to vest rewards and add bonuses if people are loyal. That's probably a better approach. But I do think a big change within marketing and growth is going to be point systems evolving to be actually ideally what they're used for, and that's loyalty programs. So there's definitely going to be more of that over the next year or two. That's my view anyway. And what else did I want to say about two? No, that's basically it. I'm keen on your thoughts.
Yeah. Um, I think any projects that have been doing points programs very recently, I think I always have this feeling of, that they've kind of come at a point where uh, any kind of airdrop will always be unhappy for everyone involved. Uh, I think the recent airdrops kind of shows that, where I think any kind of airdrop, a lot of people have been very unhappy with it. There's maybe one or two in like a massive pile that have actually kind of been successful. Um, and also a lot of
Which
marketing.
ones are successful in your eyes?
I forgot the name, but there was this one project that I saw one
There's
and a half
not
months
many
back.
out of. There's one out of
that
200.
yeah, that did well, but it was also short lived, by the way. So I think they did well, and then 2 weeks later, I think they again announced that they're gonna extend the airdrop period for a while, and instant hate. Like everyone hated that project. Uh,
Hmm.
I'm trying to remember that name. It was It was doing something like, I think, perpetuals or something. I can't remember the name for some reason, but
Was it on Solana?
no, it was not on Solana. It was
Oh.
something else. Yeah.
Hyperliquid? Didn't they extend theirs?
Hyperliquid. Maybe it was
Yeah.
Hyperliquid. Did their brand have a lot of greens? I remember seeing a lot of
Yes.
greens in their brand.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
got a lot of green. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
probably Hyperliquid.
Yeah.
I think they've probably positioned their program a bit more cleanly, where people can't pick apart stuff. Where it's just a case of every week we'll update points,
Yeah.
and we're not really going to tell you how you're accruing points. I actually think those programs are better now. Like ideally you put an end date, or you're really clear with timelines of these campaigns. Up to like 6 months is probably the point of maximum amount of farming you can do before
Yep.
people start to get annoyed. If there's no end date, you're just kind of, I think a lot of those teams with no end date are pretty much just doing things on the fly and hoping they can get to certain goals to then introduce a
Exactly.
token.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of that farming. I also think like users are just really are just with each airdrop, entitlement and expectation grows. So there's a user problem as well from my view. Like the layer
Yes.
0, I was happy with the airdrop. I was like, this is good, I like using the product. It works for me. I use it for that reason. And then, it's not a case of I'm spending these fees. I'm using it because I need to. And that's the fee
Mm-hmm.
that it costs to use this product that I like using. So to get an airdrop is just great. I've received something back just for using this. So there's definitely a user issue with a certain level of entitlement.
Yeah.
But
I think you mentioned it well. Like in the beginning, you were saying about how uh, there is a certain type of users and there is a certain type of very predatory user, right? And I think it's about that. A lot of people just use the airdrop. So airdrop has become like a profession now, right? Where the whole game is to just get the airdrop and try to see how much you can maximize out of it. It's not about actually using the application then, because you, I think, like you said, you actually like using layer zero and you're going to use it in the future. But I think there's a good portion of people who are in DeFi right now whose whole thing is that, okay, and let me get this airdrop and let me go out. So I think that's where.
yeah, they are the liquidity locus of 2021, where look, this farm's up on this chain, in comes the liquidity, the
Yeah,
yield's gone, and then the locus flies away to the next yield farm. It's just the
exactly.
same game, but just different positioning, or different, different
Yep.
product and farming process.
So I have a question for you, Blue. So when you think about these things, sometimes do you think, are there any real users? Because for example, let's say Galax and all these guys. For example, Galax apparently has about 75% of bots, right? So um,
Galaxy, the questing
yeah,
platform.
yeah.
What do I think of questing platforms? I think the like yield farming in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Yield farming was there as pretty much, it was just the way to distribute a token. I think questing platforms popped up because it was the only way to introduce that medium, that type of medium. It's a new Web3 medium. It's a way for a user to discover and interact with different protocols, and they perform tasks and they get rewards. Like questing is a Web3 native marketing and growth innovation. It's an amazing medium. Like if you had this sort of thing in Web 2, I don't know what the closest thing would be.
Hmm.
I guess like, I don't know, online coupons or discounts or something like that.
Right.
That'd probably be the closest type of medium. But I love questing from what it provides a marketer, which is a means to a direct audience that are DeFi native. It gives them clear goals to complete. And doing so means me as a marketer, I get the opportunity to bring in these users and to use, whatever product or feature that I'm trying to show them, or to join my community, and hopefully some of those will stick around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the way it's positioned though, with third-party kind of platforms, they flywheel their own user base, focusing around the reward rather than the journey, which just kind of creates this more negative
Yeah.
perceived audience. But third-party questing platforms, is the beginning of what this kind of medium will be in the future. This very much goes into how I view loyalty programs. So points will evolve in some means to a loyalty program for users, for dApps to kind of think about how they want to reward users over the long term. And then questing is just a medium of how you can facilitate users over a long term. So, introducing people to different products, different features that you launch, but doing it natively means that questing is more like, you're tapping into your user base. You're not borrowing someone else's user base. You're not renting someone else's user base on questing platforms. So
Right.
questing is amazing, but via third-party platforms now it's kind of grown into this big
Yeah.
behemoth of just users there for rewards, which isn't as great, obviously.
Right.
Mm.
So okay, this is more of a personal question. So let's say, as someone who's been in this space and doing marketing for a really long time, in 2024, let's say there's a new project coming out, right? And they're all engineers, right? And they're trying to figure out what's the best way to actually reach a lot of people. What would you say is this one big tool right now, or one big thing that they can do to really make a good start?
Oh man, you're testing me here. So you've got this big product, you want to reach as many people as possible. What do you do? I kind of feel
I
like
would I wouldn't say
a
I wouldn't
big
even say it's
questing
a big
points
product.
program airdrop. like, like ultimately, what would you do? You'd have to try and deploy on the most hyped up chain for sure. And yeah, you do need some form of bootstrapping experience via points and airdrop. There's no two ways about it. This is what pulls people in. This is what
Yeah.
people are looking for at the moment. And the hope is that out of the 100% of users you pull in with such a program, 10%, 20% are people that enjoyed using your product and would stick around. And it's your job as a marketer to make sure that you're distilling your brand, your mission, your values, your community experience to help capture those people once you're past that initial kind of hype phase. I think the most black hat growth you can do, and this is really shady and immoral in many regards, is coal strategies. You see a lot of these projects go,
Yeah.
let's do a coal round. And they're ultimately just so predatory in nature,
Mm-hmm.
but they do help build awareness early on. So yeah.
Sorry for putting you in a spot, Blue.
No, it's that's a good question.
Cool. Thank you.
What would you do?
Okay.
What would I do?
Yeah.
So I actually have. I wouldn't see it as a counter, but I feel something a bit more organic would make sense, because I feel when you do something very hypey, it kind of shades your judgment a lot, and shades your perspective, because once the hype season is over, right, it's like putting your brain on a lot of dopamine, and then when the dopamine like kind of the drug wears off, and then you're kind of lost. So maybe it's something that's a bit more structured, and where you're not trying to give rewards to people, but still trying to see how you can get people to use the application, and give you some feedback, and trying to see if you can slowly grow from there. More of a very traditionalist marketing approach. The reason why I feel that is a little better, because is of all the noise that is there in Web3, you need to do something that is a little different to make sure that you're standing out. uh, but yeah, definitely this is not something that will work, that could definitely work, obviously, because it's but yeah, that's something how I would do it.
Yeah, I think organic approach is you got to shift into a community building focus,
Yes.
community
Yeah.
strategy. So it's
Yes.
all about how can you identify, and you pretty much just need 5 or 10 community members that attach themselves to what you're building and become advocates and just loyal community members. And then you need to grow a community from that. So you need to find a core group of community members that you can focus on building a sub community around. And then you need to kind of go from there. But organic is so slow; it takes ages.
No, exactly. It takes a lot of time.
So you have to balance it. Yeah. You can't be too slow in this space, unfortunately. It just
Fair,
things move
fair.
so fast.
I agree with you. Cool.
Yeah. Or you can do intern strategy, which has been more popular recently. Get a decent intern, get something to go viral. And there you go.
Yeah.
You've got viral organic traction, and that can really help bootstrap.
We have a garden intern who's hosting this talk.
Then do something that gets 1 million views on a post.
Do you have Iggy Azalea's number, garden intern?
Sorry?
I was just asking intern if he has Iggy Azalea's number.
we need to launch our own shitcoin next. That's the only way. Great. Cool. I think just one. I think I've been loving this discussion so far. I'm just sitting here and listening to both of y'all go at it. I think one point of discussion that I just wanted to bring up, which is very core to our title of the AMA, would be a sin to miss out on that, which is that if maybe dude could start off on this, or even Blue, right? Which is that why do we think, or why do you think personally that it's important to bring Bitcoin to DeFi, and also maybe can spin this off into what made sense for TraderJoe to partner with Garden, or what made sense for Garden to partner with TraderJoe and bring this into the mix. Yeah, feel free to, anybody can take this up.
Yeah, I can start. So I think it's actually one of the most straightforward questions. Why Bitcoin is important to DeFi. I think it's the asset that holds a lot of, I think, mind share for a lot of people in Web3, and that's something which is more of an entry point for a lot of people. So that's why it's very important that it is very easy to use anywhere on DeFi. And there's been like a long running opinion that Bitcoin or Bitcoin maxis are this kind of people who just want to hold their asset in a cold wallet stuck somewhere, and they don't want to use it at all. But I think the growing Bitcoin ecosystem, the Bitcoin L2s, I can like there is some level of hype induced growth there too, but I still feel that the ordinal space taking off, the NFT marketplaces getting built at the L2s, it shows that people are willing to use their Bitcoin in DeFi a little bit more than before now, and making that very easy would mean that more people would actually start using Bitcoin a bit more. And I had this one conversation with Radiance marketing lead, and he was telling that he feels recently that Bitcoin has more of a creative edge than it did before, where it was just this asset. Now there is a bit more creativity involved around what you can do with it, and it kind of sums up how the kind of phase Bitcoin is going right now. And that's why I feel it's important that Bitcoin to DeFi is taken seriously.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of gone from just being viewed as a store of value to actually, with all these, Bitcoin virtual machines popping up, it's become more of there's more utility around it now. And ultimately it should be good for DeFi, right? If there's this Titan class asset is being activated on chain, and actually, maybe there's tons of Bitcoin maxis who are just like, oh, actually, maybe I can go into DeFi now. Maybe I can do something with my Bitcoin. That should be good for just generally growing the on-chain world that I think we're all trying to build or help to build.
Sweet. Awesome. I think sort of coming to the conclusion of our AMA here today. Um, Maybe as as a closing note, would both Blue and Dude want to talk about what are the plans for later this year, in terms of anything new that's coming up. Yeah, anything that you'd like to share, and then we'll open it up to a community AMA. Feel free to put in a request, folks that are listening in, and we can call you all up here. I will ask a few questions, but yeah.
Yep, I can start off. So, the three things that are in mind for Garden in its roadmap for this year is one, um, improve the UX further. We want to reduce the number of clicks that people have to do, and the amount of time the swap takes. Currently, takes around one block. We want to reduce it even further. Our aim is to reach 30 seconds, which is possible, at least based on our understanding of our tech and everything. So we want to reach that point. That is from a UX perspective. And one other thing that we are also working on is an SDK. So from the beginning, Garden's ideas was that we want it to be community-led project where, and so we don't want the tech to be limited to just this Garden UI. We actually want more people to be able to use it. So we're open sourcing it in a way. We are creating some API endpoints and a really nice SDK for developers to use, build, create whatever experiences they want to be it, build a Telegram bot or whatever their imagination can do. And the SDK is also can also be utilized by, let's say, someone like TraderJoe to enable direct Bitcoin support on their application, in the sense that someone with a Bitcoin wallet or just holding Bitcoin can just walk up to TraderJoe and then do instant swaps directly in there, without. So think of it kind of like having an on-off ramp for Bitcoin. So that's the kind of experience the Guardian Estate would enable, and that's something we are super excited about, and really happy to see what kind of shape that would take. And yeah, so those are the two things. And the third thing, obviously, is to make sure that Garden uh, lives up to this name that is it can exchange Bitcoin to any asset anywhere. So adding more assets, adding more chains, and we don't like to create new liquidity. We are all about using the existing liquidity. So we try to integrate with all solutions that help us create this experience, and only build liquidity when needed. That's why the only liquidity that we have been building from the beginning is just Bitcoin. So yeah, that's the plans for Garden this year.
Yeah, for TraderJoe, I'll keep it light. So we have Joe V3. It's token mill. This is a new type of trading platform. It's in audit at the moment. So hopefully a summer release. And Joe V4, again, this is a new kind of iteration of a decentralized exchange. It's all about improving the spot swapping experience for users. That's going to be back end of the year.
Amazing. Sweet. Would love to open up the space for anybody else that want to ask any questions, or even like Dude or Blue, if you all want to have any other questions of your own to just get that out of the way. But yeah, can just we'll just keep the space open for a minute before we close off, and yeah. Okay, sweet. I think we looks like we've probably covered a bunch of topics, and I think this was my favorite Twitter space so far. Sorry, dude, do you have a
No,
question?
no,
Okay.
no, no questions. I was
Okay.
gonna say it was one of my favorites too. It was really nice interacting with Blue.
Yeah, it's a
That's
good chat. Nice kind of fluid topics and convo. So I appreciate your time and for hosting as well.
100%. I mean, thanks a lot for Blue for joining in, taking the time, and Dude, of course, and everybody that joined in here, for everybody that stuck through the Twitter space from the very beginning. Thanks a lot for joining in, and yeah, we'll be posting a few. I think Blue and Dude both dropped quite a few nuggets of wisdom for all marketing, Web3 marketing nerds, and just DeFi in general. We'll be posting some of those snippets throughout the week. So if you did not get to tune in, stay tuned on our Twitter. And yeah, I think as a closing note from my end, go uh, head over to Garden Finance and make sure to complete the TraderJoe quest. And yeah, unlock your free seed and some extra goodies along with it. Again, thank you all for coming. Thank you, Blue. Thank you, dude. Amazing Twitter space. Until next time.
Yep. Thanks a lot for everyone for
Thanks.
joining. Thank you,
See ya.
Blue.
See you all. Cheers. Bye.